I hope you are having a glorious Friday. I am certainly having a delightful Friday. I have a gorgeous and talented human person right here with me, and we're going to do some really cool shit today. So I hope you're ready. I hope you are prepared emotionally for fucking delight. That's what I hope you're ready for. So, hi. Hi, Wolf. Who the fuck are you?
Sukma, hello. Um, God, behave yourself. Mute him. Mute him. Uh, hi. Yeah, my name is Wolf Roby. I use they them pronouns. I am a uh, nerd. Hi, my name is Wolf. I'm a nerd. Um, but I wear a lot of hats. I'm currently doing events and outreach for a cool little game you might have heard of called Coyote and Crow. Um, I know the crowd goes wild. Super cool. Doing all kinds of fun stuff. Last night, I got to listen to Annalie Newitz talk about Cahokia and Coyote and Crow with the Dallas Museum of Art. I'm like, what? Like everywhere I go. So now I'm here also talking about Coyote and Crow. Imagine that. Um, I I also am a graduate student. I am actually doing a doctorate in organizational leadership, and we'll be focusing on using play and collaborative gaming in education and professional and leadership development. So we go all the way from the dice to the academic journals. So um, definitely have some weird and fun things going on, and I'm excited to come share some of those weird and exciting things.
I love it. Yay. Well, first off, I want to thank our fabulous sponsor for today, Hero Forge. Hero Forge is amazing. If you really want to level up your character art and you're like me and have absolutely no capacity with visual arts, I can sing like a goddamn angel, but I can only draw a stick figure. So character art is very difficult for me. And I can go over to Hero Forge and they just in like 10 minutes turn what I have in my head into something glorious on the page. They have a million different things that you can do with your characters. They've got a whole section where you can paint them. And if you're like me and you just fall in love with your characters that you create, you can actually have them make the character for you and they will paint it and they will send it to you so you can have it in your own hand. It is glorious. So jump over there, head down to our About section and check them out. And go and support these fabulous people that are supporting all kinds of cool stuff for us too. And with that, also check out all the different supporters that we have in the About section. Go click all of the links. Even if you just go over and say hi to them and say thank you for being supportive, they like that. They think that's glorious. So thank you everybody for being here. And I hope you're ready to watch actual creation just right in front of your damn face. What's going to happen? And with that, hey, Wolf, what are we talking about today?
So, when we first started talking about telling stories about some of our team and our friends, individual indigenous cultures, I started really thinking about what stories with my own tribe, with the Chickasaws, would have maybe looked like um, if the world of Coyote and Crow were kind of where we were instead of where we are.
Right.
Because I know a lot of people are probably familiar with some stories of removal of indigenous tribes from their early homelands and things like that. And so looking at what our lives may have been like if that hadn't been the case, if we weren't in Oklahoma, I think is really interesting. So I started looking at, some of the things that we do have, because a lot of that culture and a lot of those stories have been lost. And the ones that we do have, we see often. Like, we have lots of stories about Spider and, different tricksters and things like that. But, the day-to-day life, like, what would an adventure look like? And not just a creation story or, stories about major battles and things like that everyone is kind of familiar with. And not really focusing on, like, DeSoto, because
Yeah.
So I found some really cool stuff. One of the things I found was actually a historical document where a researcher interviewed one of my great grandparents,
Fabulous.
about just like what her life was like and what it was like to live with her family. So that was super cool.
Yeah.
Some census records and things like that. But also, I came across this story that is obviously heavily interpreted by the person who took the story down, but there's some tidbits in there that I thought, there could be something here. And then I read a cool little book by my new friend Annalee Newitz, called oh God, I keep putting extra words in the book title. I should probably look. Annalee
Because you
wrote.
fancy.
Yes, there are so many things. Four Lost Cities is the title of this book, A Secret History of Four Lost Cities. Annalee Newitz is an author of fiction and nonfiction, an award-winning journalist. Like, they have an amazing podcast. There's all kinds of things. This is not an Annalee commercial. The thing that connected is I found a lot of information about through Annalee's book and, kind of deep dive off into other research land, about Cahokia, in the setting of Coyote and Crow. That's kind of the main city. I've heard people compare it to like it's the indigenous Atlantis and all this stuff.
Okay.
It was a city. It was a city where St. Louis is now. And there's a lot of, historical stuff. Some people view it as an abandoned city, but one of the things that Annalee talks about in this book, and one of the things that that we've had those conversations about, through different means with different folks, is talking about this idea of cities not being a once and forever thing. That there is a process for building a city and for saying goodbye to it when it's time to be over.
I read recently a fabulous article about the life cycle of empire, and that it's like, it follows, like, if you look at every empire that has ever existed, we are like, and the ones that still exist, like, every single one of them is following this trajectory exactly. And it's like, it just happens over and over and over again. And I love that concept of, a city being something that is essentially an emergent being, that is more than just the buildings that are in it and the people that are in it, that the city itself, becomes emergent because of what's inside it.
And you think about, like, how many times do we have descriptions of buildings, of cities, of boats, of cars as people? As, a hello, Transformers.
Are we doing a Michael Bay adventure today?
No, but anyway, so there are so many ways of considering what this would be like. And one of the cool things that I've learned in my studies about Indigenous leadership, about my own culture, and really digging deep into not just my culture, but my own family history and things like that, is that one, from the queer end of things, those of us who are of trans experience have changed our names, that sort of thing. That's actually really common in Indigenous culture, is to have a name when there's an accomplishment, a name change, and an update. It's not just a title like doctor or
Yeah.
reverend or whatever. Your entire name has changed in a lot
That's
of
really interesting. We actually have a culture in our homebrew setting that is when you have a major accomplishment in your life, you add a syllable to your name, and so you can just, when you meet somebody, you know how accomplished they are based, or how celebrated they are based on how long their name is. So I love that.
Yeah, and one of the things in in some of the Coyote and Crow stuff is that people are saying, as they're playing the game, like they're finding that their affiliations aren't my family, or this, like, as you would think of things in real life, but in game it's very much an allegiance to your place, an allegiance to your path, an allegiance to your family group, that's not necessarily blood related. And those allegiances, I feel like, very closely mirror what a lot of us are doing in real life with chosen family and things like that. And that's absolutely...
Yeah, one of the things that I think is so important about chosen family too is that there is not this drive to hold on to the person that entered the family to the detriment of the person that grows with the family. That there is, that you are a different person all the time, and that, like, I know for me personally, I have had many found families in my life, and my family is astonishingly toxic, and literally I do not speak to anybody in my family anymore. There is definitely this, all of the people in my found families over the years I'm still in contact with, even though our lives have gone in different directions and we've drifted apart, and that's okay. That there's not this desire to force somebody to stay in the shape that they were in order to make you comfortable. That it is okay to release them out into the world and to continue to support them in their endeavors. And sometimes I definitely have people from found families that have gone off in not great directions. And it's okay to say, I'm not going to support you anymore. And there is, I think the difficulty of that in the American culture, especially, is that we are inundated. Every move, like, if you have a toxic family, you get very aware that every movie, every television show, every story that you are reading is talking about how family's the most important thing. And I'm willing to do this because you're family, and that's great. And I'm just like, this is not my experience at all. They will do terrible things to you, and then they will tell you that it's your job to deal with those terrible things so that they can keep doing the terrible things because you're family.
Jobs and family, anytime a potential employer is like, we're like family, I'm like, oh fuck, run away.
Right? No, thank you.
No.
If you tell me we are like warriors on a battlefield, all fighting for the same thing, absolutely. Like, I got your back. Like, yeah. I will lay it down. I will lay my body across the barbed wire for you if that's what it takes. While my family yells at me, "Why are you doing something so stupid?
Why are you
You
wearing
fucked
that
up
on
the
the
shirt I
barbed
like
wire?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, fabulous. So we are discussing emergent cities. We are discussing life cycle of empire. We are discussing found family. I'm really loving where this is going. I think this is going to be fabulous. So yes, what's the next topic?
So, okay, related to my own family, like I found a lot of cool stuff. Like we had the 2020 census a while back, and I was working with a nonprofit at the time and doing a lot of stuff. And so I went back and looked at some of the old census records to see like where was my family, the names that I know from the blood relations that I do have information for, like where were they? So I found things out, like my great grandma and her mom lived with my grandpa and all of his siblings in the house that my great grandma died in. None of them knew how to read. Most of them were, on public assistance. Like very few of them had occupations listed, and things like that. So that was, I mean, it's definitely not something that I'm ashamed of, but it's definitely eye opening to think about some of the attitudes that family of origin has about things now, and kind of where our relatives were during a very difficult time for Indigenous people. I mean, all the times have been difficult in Oklahoma for Indigenous people, but especially so in the 20s and the 30s and the 40s,
God.
um, when a lot of people didn't claim their native status
Yeah.
because of persecution. And so to have done that and claimed their native status and been enrolled in all of those things, and participating in things, in spiritual ceremonies when those ceremonies were federally illegal.
Right?
Um, Participating in things like the federal census when
So
Native Americans didn't have citizenship in the U.S. until 1924.
So
So,
I have a question for you about ceremonies, because my father was a priest, an Episcopalian priest, and are the ceremonies considered religious or cultural? Like
yes.
okay, all right. So it's just so it is one thing, because it's always been a thing that sort of I've wondered about. You know,
So to me, and there are certainly going to be those folks who, um, are Indigenous and Christian, and they have kind of some of those separate things, or Indigenous in another religion, or mixed race and have their own stuff going on, and that's cool. In terms of my own experience with Indigenous culture, and my studies and that sort of thing, I think of Indigenous culture and spirituality in terms of a symbol called the medicine wheel. If you're not familiar, it's totally Googleable. It's literally a circle with a cross in the middle. And
yeah.
so it kind of gives you sections of your life, your spiritual, your physical, your mental, and those things. And it's separate things, but they're all interwoven with each other.
Absolutely.
And that's something that is very integral to a lot of the work that you will see from me, creatively and otherwise. Um, I do presentations where I'm talking about my academic work and working in poetry about different topics and things like that. So it's really difficult to separate those things out, just like it's difficult to separate spiritual experiences from cultural experiences, especially when those things being tied together is one of the reasons why they were not allowed for so many years. Well,
Yeah.
not allowed to be in public. We did it anyway.
Right.
Like we do.
Yeah, as one does. I mean,
I actually have a poem that was published in Name of magazine, Cleaning Up Glitter, for their Pride issue a couple years ago, that talks about my culture being between two stone walls, because you think of Stonewall in the queer sense, and all of that imagery that evokes, but then also Stonewall, Oklahoma, which is the site where a lot of my Chickasaw family members, including my relative that I found this story about her day-to-day life, would do ceremony and dance in secret. And so that juxtaposition is not lost on me. And so there are a lot of things that are like that the more you look at it, the more it weaves its way in together.
Oh, absolutely. For me, I think one of the reasons that it's separated for me in my mind is having the experience that I've had particularly with a father who, if you just look at basic Christian ideals of empathy, charity, helping people without all of the crazy dogma that's been built up over the last 2,000 years, that are, crazy power structures and ways to diminish people so that white men can maintain as much power as possible. Removing all of that, I grew up with a guy who, literally had the ability to walk up to somebody and give them one sentence, a person they'd never met, and change their life forever, because they truly understood that liminal space that, the mysteries used to evoke, where it is you leaving that part of you that is stuck in your day-to-day life and stuck in whatever culture you are existing in, whatever job, whatever, like pandemic or war or whatever it is, and can exist in a different plane, essentially, without all of the worries and cares, and therefore be able to see the connections that bring all of us together with the rest of the world, and having it essentially, the way I look at it is a state of hyper empathy, where it's just total understanding of all the people around you at all times without the need for conversation. And growing up with that as my representation of Christianity, and then being exposed to the insanely toxic forms of what they call the same religion, as I aged, it sort of broke. It broke that concept that you can have the good without the bad, because there's so much bad right now. So it really is warming to hear that there are still spaces in the world where there's an understanding that you can experience this, as a cultural phenomenon, without it turning into like a toxic theocracy.
Yeah, absolutely.
That makes me very happy. Yeah.
And we're creating more of those spaces. I think that's kind of, not to go too far into news things, but that's kind of the reason for things being the way that they are politically right now, is because we're like, we're all gonna live together in a big commune. Oh no, we're gonna make a law where you can't rent with people you're not related to. Fine, I'll marry them. Like, what? We're going to adopt our friends. Try me.
Right? Let's do it. I had a friend who started the religion, and I know there's several of these all over the planet, but he started, the Church of Zombie Jesus, and said that his apartment was the church so that he wouldn't have to pay like any taxes or anything like that on anything that happened in there. And I was like, absolutely. That's right. Yes, this is how we do this.
Okay, 1, Jesus was a lick. 2, Two, there is a lady in Oklahoma who started the Church of Prismatic Light. It is literally a religious ceremony to transition. And I absolutely love that. And I'm just like, girl.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Yes.
So, yeah.
Oh,
Time.
wow. I feel okay. Would it be terrible of me? Because like everything in my setting is based on like rainbows. Like all the super powerful people are all like there's like the most powerful wizard is the prismatic mage, and like they came over on the prismatic sleigh, and there's just like all that. I would it be terrible of me to take that and be like,
She
have
would
an actual.
probably come on your stream and like ominous to ominous bless y'all for real.
I love that so much. Oh my God, I want to have a transition ceremony in my setting. Yay!
So when you get ready to do that, I'll send you a poem. I actually wrote a poem in 2013, which is on YouTube, pre-transition, which is hilarious because I was not trans. I know, it's hilarious. Whatever. So this poem was written in 2013 and it was used by like several of the Universalist Unitarian and like some of those folks, and then just some non-religious individuals in renaming ceremonies.
Nice.
And I was just like, oh, that's cool. That's totally not what it. Yeah, totally fucking was.
Ah,
God.
that's
Thanks,
it's
brain,
huge
for telling
though.
me things without telling me things.
Yeah, absolutely. This is it's something when I wrote my first play, like, and I actually like directed it. It was like it's an actor's job is to dig into what's on the page and create a character based on that. And when the actors created like their characters based on what I wrote, I my first instinct was like, well, that's not. Oh my God. I'm like my play.
Stay away.
I can't. Yeah. I was like, I just felt my play. I was like, I feel like you're looking at me. Stop it. Stop it. Anyway, okay, so we're supposed to be.
We're doing things. Hey, I have notes, so I can just copy my stuff into your stuff and we'll get there. Background, it's background. It's there. So adventure hooks. I have a list. Yay. Because I follow directions. So yeah, part of the stuff that I dug into that kind of gave me an idea for what an adventure could look like in terms of kind of putting a house to rest, which is kind of the overall arc of what this story has been about for me, is there was one of those researchers who took down some information about some ceremonies that Chickasaws did to keep the witches out, because that's totally a concept that we had pre-contact. Bad spirits.
I was about to ask. I was like,
use that word. Bad energy, like, but I mean, in the idea that the concepts of good and bad, of positive and negative, are the same in a non-European culture is just like, seriously, get the fuck out of here with that. The way that I took that was, okay, so I'm reading Annalie's book about lost cities and how people not abandon, but put their cities and their homes to rest. I mean, obviously, some had a rushed funeral, #Pompeii, but they knew it was coming.
Yeah,
You know,
but I mean, the shroud is gorgeous.
it was only like 10%. They said it was only like 10% of the population that actually died. It was like, those people in Florida that won't go. We're going down with the ship, which is
I, I
fine. Like that is a thing in every culture, in
so
every story.
I feel like this is where we get into what, like, as you dig into the concept of an emergent city or an emergent house, things like that. The the same rules for relationships that apply to people would apply to them as well. That, like, there is, if you have a relationship with somebody, as long as you are growing together, it's great, And then when you start growing apart, it can still be fine as long as you allow the growth to continue to happen. It's when people try to stop the growth in order to maintain the relationship that everything falls apart. And so, yeah, this whole idea that it's like, hey, we in the city have now fallen, our paths are now diverging, and that's okay. And I love you, and thank you for everything, and it's time to go.
So I swear I didn't come on your stream to plug all of my friends' books, but I say friends because these are people that like my tweets. So we're friends now. Hi, Sarah Gailey, love you. I just finished an advanced reader copy that I'm not supposed to talk about of Sarah Gailey's new book called Just Like Home. And all I'm saying is there are more similarities here than there are differences. And June 19th, you should read that book if you like the idea of weird and scary house shit. So anyway, yeah, so kind of the idea that, you're and you're spot on, like the idea that a person and a home are very interwoven. Again, that concept of intermingled self, of spirituality with physical and mental aspects of being, ways of existing and doing things. So the ceremony that is alluded to in the research says that Chickasaws would abandon a house for 3 nights, and the fires would all be out. There would be no fire, and without the fire, the witches could not locate the house. So, and I can see how they would think that, you're applying your own culture to what you see, and it's wrong, but it's very cute. Thank you for playing. These are the same people that were horrified and terrified of Indigenous women and femmes because they were topless. Oh God, not boobs.
Wait, did you just say boobs? Because I have to stop the stream. I can't. I just can't. Boobs are, they're terrible. How dare you? Oh my God.
I know.
No,
it's terrifying.
It really is amazing how terrified people are of breasts. Like, it's just
and it's still a cultural taboo. You cannot show a female nipple on anything.
No.
Still. Seriously, what the fuck, white people? So, we have this, this idea of, this is what these other folks are seeing. But there's also a reality to that, and we know that when we see stories from outsiders, there's usually some part of that is a thing. So one of some of the things with the way that Chickasaw housing traditionally was set up, there's a river system and several small and large villages kind of all over this area that would be easily traversed by canoes, which we made out of wood. They're dugout canoes. We still make them at our cultural center and at several other spots. It's super fun if you like being sweaty and gross. And catching stuff on fire. That's what I'm there for. So there's a theme.
Pyros, yay! Pyros, yay!
So the traditional houses were set up for, we were in kind of the Mississippi, Georgia, Alabama, kind of like that nebulous area of what states are now. Because we didn't have borders like that. We had rivers, and we went where the rivers went. And sometimes that changed, and that's okay. But depending on the season, because if you're in Mississippi or Georgia or some of those kind of states in that area, sometimes it's really, really hot, and sometimes it is cold. Like there are actual seasons in this region. So with the technology and things that we had at the time, um, instead of trying to make one house for all seasons, we built two houses. So the summer house, Tumpali Choka, was kind of a mud and daub thatched roof. Had enough space to have a woven floor that was above the dirt, so you could store things under the floor. It's like pre contact basements. This is
Right.
fine, totally cool. But that also gave you some give. So you had kind of a little nicer than the clay that is everywhere.
Absolutely. Hold on just a sec. We just got rated by Phoenix Iwaki. So thank you.
What?
Absolutely. Thank you for popping in here, Phoenix. First of all, I want to say congratulations on how successful this charity week has been for you. How did the game go today? Was it glorious? Throw into the comments all the fun. I want to know, like, from each of you, one moment that you adored in the game from today. So absolutely, thank you, thank you, thank you. Everybody, please hit exclamation point raffle if you want some fabulous dice from Phoenix Dice. They make everything from recycled materials because they love the world we live in just as much as all the worlds we play in. So thank you, thank you, thank you again for coming in. We have our guest here, Wulf, who is telling us all about his heritage. We're currently discussing concepts like emergent cities, found families, emergent houses, the relationship that you have with places that you live, the misinterpretation of white people trying to figure out what the hell native cultures are talking about, and delightful other things that we are going to be turning into a glorious one-shot adventure. So welcome, welcome. All right, so we're talking about summer houses because you fancy, yes.
Yes, very fancy. So it's clay holds moisture. You don't want to sleep on a wet bed. If you've ever had a water bed bust in the middle of the night, you know that to be true. Hashtag 80s life. So, but
Stop looking at me. Don't look at me.
I know it was you. It was all your fault. So that and that also gave space for there to be air circulation and things like that. So it was pretty advanced for some folks that people were scared of because we had cool houses but didn't have shirts on all the time. Whatever.
I mean, can I just say, I feel like that's vacation. Like,
listen,
I've been to that resort.
there's a whole subset of folks that don't know how to be taking a vacation. That's why we are the way we are. So then, on the flip side of that, we have the winter house or Hashtola Choka. And the winter house was, okay, the winter house is kind of my favorite because it goes into this whole like symbolic thing with the spiral and I nerd out. Anyway, so the winter house.
It's obviously not the place to nerd out. Oh my god.
Clearly not. I mean, anywhere in my vicinity is the place for this. So the summer house was like a like a Lego house, like it's a rectangle squarish type thing. I mean, it's not like there was pocket squares in the, you know, 11, 12, or whenever it was when these things were happening. But the winter house was actually, again, this is the symbology of a circle, would have a spiral shape to the outside wall so that, and it would be faced in a direction where cold air would normally come from, would not be able to easily blow inside the house. The walls would be thicker, with layers of wood, of straw, of mud, and things like that, to make them more insulated. And the floor would go all the way down to the ground. That would be packed tight. And then the roof would have an outlet for there to, be a fire inside where you could release smoke and things like that. Um, so that's where families and individuals would live, would be in one of those two houses. That's not to say those are the only buildings. We also had places like a corn crib, which is, like Chickasaw Walmart. We put all of our stuff that we grew, and, it would be up off the ground, again, to give some of that air circulation. I know you're gonna
Did you just make Chickasaw Mart?
You're gonna have to stop trying to drink things when I'm talking. Welcome to being my friends. Hello. So, the corn crib would be, up to give, some airflow to kind of keep things fresher longer, to keep critters out, that sort of thing. To keep, there to be a barrier for moisture in the ground and rain runoff and that sort of thing. Then we would also have, communal structures like a council house or an anompali choka. So that would be sort of an all seasons kind of building, kind of in the middle of a town or a village. And that would be, where there was space for seating, probably movable seating, because the events and things that we have in gymnasiums and things like that now would be in the council house, because that was the big building.
That was the multi-purpose room.
Yeah. So things like that, large dances and ceremonies would often be, if not something that was medicine or specific to a person or a specific place, would be held in the council house. So, that was, well, everyone kind of had their own individual things, as far as shelter and, day-to-day things and storing their own personal items. Kind of the big stuff, we're not renting a, lawnmower or anything like that. Like, it's not that kind of life, but, large tools, things like that, specialty weapons and things like that would be stored in that communal space. And again, from my own research and from talking to actual researchers now, and reading researchers from history, I'm creating links where there are gaps in information, and I think that's what a lot of us are kind of left to, with where our cultures are today. Even and I mean, even in learning language and things like that, and learning our traditional songs, so much of that has been lost. That's exactly what we do, is fill in the gaps and spell things and sing things as we are so moved to do. And sometimes the same word is slightly different from me to my cousin or our neighbor up the road or someone 100 years ago. So we do the best we can, and that's what we're doing. And that's kind of where the story goes, is that I, in trying to envision what someone like me would have lived, how I would have lived, like what my life would be like, that's kind of where this where this story kind of started taking root. And so, one of the things that I found in my own family history from census records is that I had one, probably uncle, maybe. We all kind of live in big groups, so whatever the family word, he was a family member. An individual that was originally called Rose, and then later his name became Roscoe. So that could have been for any number of reasons. I like to imagine that this was a two-spirit or trans person from, the 1900s, because we existed. And I think it's super cool to imagine that, this spiritual mantle, this kind of idea that two-spirit people are not just a sexual or a sexual orientation or a gender identity, but a group of people who have certain standing in our communities, and responsibilities and things that we take on as a result of some of the things that we experience and understand from living as our authentic selves. So to think that that person could have been an actual ancestor, and passing down what stories and cultural information could have been passed down if that story had not been interrupted. So gathering those things and putting that together becomes something that I think not just other two-spirit people or other queer folks, but a lot of people can really identify with, finding who and what you want to be. Like, what do you want to be when you grow up? What kind of person do you want to be in the world? And I think
that there's definitely, I think this is where the sort of microcosm, macrocosm comes into play, where there is, I hadn't ever really thought about it this way, but the idea that there are so many queer people, especially people that are like maybe from my generation or older, where it was just not at all accepted. Not that it's great right now, but like it's definitely improved from where it was 30 years ago.
What, you didn't have Tumblr in the Stone Age?
I mean, we had gay.com. Like,
okay.
But it was the idea that the development of your personal story gets interrupted by your parents or your church group, or the fact that like the neighbors won't approve, or things like that, in a microcosm way that cultures have been absolutely interrupted because that's inappropriate and we don't like what the fuck that is. So we're literally going to try to erase you. Like, we are just going to try to erase who you are, and we are going to replace you with something that is more comfortable for us.
Guess what, bitches? We're here and we're topless. Deal with it. So you heard it. You heard it here first. The shirts are coming off. You first, Kyle.
That's right. Well, I'm wearing a button down, so I'll definitely open a button for you. There you go. I can't go too far because Twitch's terms of service very specifically.
Gonna get in trouble again?
I've already had one show canceled this week.
I'm helping. So yeah, like, and it's very much that idea that you can reclaim that. You can spend the time that you needed falling in line and doing what needed to be done so that you could be safe when you needed to be. And then, when the fire goes out and it's dark, we're going to reclaim that shit. And, when the sun comes up in the morning, we're going to be witches or, big flaming queers. We don't know.
Both. Yes.
I mean, this is what's happening.
Uh,
So, and I think that having a space to do that, because I think we all know that, we write ourselves into plays, we make our characters, how many folks chose video game characters that were the gender that they wanted to see themselves as and not where they were. Um, I see you, little eggs. When you're like, oh no, I just like the aesthetic. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's cute. You're cute. You're precious.
Got a whole dozen eggs right here just for you. So, and that's kind of where this came through. So, at first I was thinking about, how would we deal with the name change from the perspective of you know what actually happened, actual historical things, when the government man came around and they were expecting a little girl named Rose and they had a dude named Roscoe instead. How do you do that? And then I was like, wait, no, we're not doing this colonized bullshit.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Roscoe decided that this was where his life was going to go, and he chose it for himself, and that's just how that's going to be. So that was kind of where my trajectory with the story went. I think that the most important thing about the story is that there is a set of kind of three things that happens in some of the research. Doing three nights of there not being a fire at night is what cleansed the space. And I feel like that is a ritual or a ceremony that could absolutely tie into renaming a house, reclaiming a space, clearing out the energy of a former family that's making space for Roscoe and his chosen folks, or just for himself to build a new life. And I think that is a wonderful thing to explore, how we build those houses, how we assume ownership in a culture where there's not really a concept of ownership. And so taking those ideas and plugging in experiences and people that feel like people that we know. I think we all kind of know, the parent that is super cool about everything and is super supportive, and then the parent that's not quite sure, or the elder that wants to do things the same way that we've always done them, but respects your right to explore things, maybe doesn't know how to encourage and offer guidance because that's not their experience, but they're certainly going to maybe offer to do a special blessing for you, even though there's not one available. You're gonna make it up.
I think that's so 2 points there. And thank you for the rate, No Fame Pod. You're fabulous. Welcome in. We're about to start writing a fabulous one-shot adventure based on Wulf's delightful discussions about Chickasaw heritage. There's I wanted to hit on 2 points in there. One is first the idea that there's no real sense of ownership, but the way that you're describing it, it seems like it's connection as ownership. That that is when you know that this is your space, as you have done what is necessary to create a true connection to it, and that it doesn't need to be codified because you and everyone around you understand, like they almost like it is a sort of a psychic link almost that people can feel the buzz of. You know, the community understands who belongs to what things, and you know, based on the connections that they have to these different things.
I mean, yeah, like, you know, you start a new job and you decorate your desk with, you know, whatever nerdy shit is your flavor. People come to understand that that's your nerdy shit and that is who you are. And that kind of becomes your space, even though it's not technically that. I mean, it all belongs to the company, right? It all belongs to, you know, the community, the world, the universe, however you want to look at it. But when, you know, when you're the one who digs up the mud and patches the walls or reweaves the floor or whatever, you know, the caretaking is, that becomes yours. And I think that's a beautiful way to um, talk about not just creating a home and creating a space, but also making yourself at home within yourself. And that's a story that I think, you know, whether it's, you know, a solo one shot and you're exploring how you want to explore doing that, what sort of things you want to take on, and where you want to go and who you want to talk to and that sort of thing. I think you could also do that as a group,
Yeah.
and have that support and people doing those things alongside you, because then it becomes a chosen family and a community effort.
Yeah. Well, and it's also, the home becomes a part of that family and a part of the connection, and can be the anchoring force. You know,
Absolutely.
there is, all right, so is there anything else that you want to discuss before we actually jump in and start writing? I feel like I have a good understanding of like the direction, that this is going, the sort of the emotional context of it. Um, Anything else that we need to move through so that there will be a
I think
delight.
we have like basic concepts and like kind of the ideas and the feel for things.
All right, awesome, fabulous. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take a little 5-minute break, and we're going to say, hey, everybody, enter the raffle for Fabulous Phoenix Dice today! Exclamation point raffle, if you please. There is a donate link up in the chat right now. Please feel free to donate to help us cover costs for things like art and for layout and things like that, so that we can create a gorgeous piece of adventure for Wulf here. And we will be back in just a moment. Fabulous. Hello again. Welcome back to our fabulous stream with Wulf. We're gonna write an adventure now. You're gonna watch it happen. That's right. You get to see the creative process in action, right in front of your very eyes. This is a thing. I would like to draw your attention to the screen where there is a essentially blank outline. Currently, this is what we are starting with. Sometime over the course of the next 2 hours, you will see an actual adventure appear on this very page. And then in about a month, when we've gotten the art and the layout all taken care of, you will be able to purchase said adventure so that you can play it at your own table. That's what's happening to you right now, right here. It's happening to you. So, Wulf, first off,
Yes.
let's talk about what kind of structure we want for this. Are we going for traditional 3-act structure? Are we going to do a less traditional structure? Where are we at with that?
Yeah, I think 3-act plays pretty well into kind of the concept.
Okay, awesome. Where do we want to start with this? Do we want to start with the finale? Do we want to start with the rising action? Do we want to start with the conflict in the second act? What's the where do we want to start in order to build out from there effectively?
I'm so bad at outlining.
That's what I'm here for.
I usually start kind of in the middle and then work my way through both ends. I think the most important like hook here is the creation and discovery portion. And I think that's one of the coolest things about the things that are available in the world of Coyote and Crow is that the sky's really the limit, like, and really even more than that because we could fly. Um, so you know, there are so many options and so many things, technology wise, roles of people in the party, that I think you can really make it work for, like I said, either a solo thing if you just want to explore the world, or to do something more along the lines of a party expedition. So to me, the the creation of, or the recognition of, the kind of the glow up of the title character and the village that is being created is really where everything kind of starts, happens, and ends.
So is this village, so is the point of the story to create the village, to let the village go, to figure out what's wrong? Like, is it figuring out what's wrong with the village, or what's wrong with the relationship with the village? What's ultimately the goal here?
So initially I thought, hey, it would be cool to like build your own village. But then I thought, that's been done. So, what if, we had a village that, for whatever reason was uninhabited for a period of time. And, we had some folks who, needed to expand. Families get bigger, villages get bigger, trade happens, all manner of things can bring a group of people together in a place. And how you go about sorting out who's in what role, sorting out where folks are going to be, and how those physical structures are going to support that, is pretty essential. And so I don't know where your trajectory is, but my thought was this would be a really good way to introduce folks to what all you can do in the world of Coyote and Crow, and kind of help advance some character creation, and let people kind of get to know each other and themselves while working on the problem.
So, let's outline the obstacles, and then let's get around them. So the first obstacle is this is a one-shot. So this needs to fit into one session that's going to last between 3 and 4 hours, right?
We don't need to invent the whole wheel. We just need to know that the wheel exists.
Yeah, there is. What is the actual conflict going to be that the adventurers need to get over? Right now, based on what you're saying, I've got a couple of concepts. One is that if they're entering this town that has been abandoned, it could very well be that it was not laid to rest properly, and therefore the sort of emergent properties of this city are still active, and are not, and they need to be laid to rest first, and then they can be inhabited by new people. That's sort of one concept. Another concept might be finding out how this city has sort of a mind of its own because it was inhabited at one point. And in order to make the connection to the city, there are certain things that you will have to discover about the people that lived here before, so that you can then understand what the city itself wants, and then activate the city's ability to help you place people where they should be, throughout the city, creating more of a communal consciousness, that sort of like city amplified intuition about where you're going to go, what you're going to do. Do either of those vibe with you?
I think I'm leaning more toward like the second. I think a concept that that I've been kind of toying with is the idea that, yes, we have all this technology in the current, like in the present in game, but to get to that technology, like any other culture or civilization, you had previous iterations of that technology.
Absolutely.
So, I like the idea of there being existing older versions of some of the tech, maybe things that were made with previous iterations of the GATS that, just maybe don't work the way quite the same that things we have now do. And so, there's a learning curve. If you're used to, ray guns and you pick up a pistol, it's going to be a little different.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I kind of like the idea of kind of like almost bringing a steampunk element into kind of where like the feel and the vibe of
absolutely
of the village.
In order to pull, sorry, I am pouring hot water on tea because I am a caffeine addict. I think in order to move, to create this as an adventure, if we are aiming towards finding out how to activate the true power of this city, the first things we need to answer are, why was the city abandoned? Why, and why has it not been found until now?
And I think that's something that, it's not necessarily the idea of abandonment. It doesn't necessarily need to abandon. We know that this stuff was here. People have been back and forth and, picked up stuff, but it's really kind of useless in terms of what most people are looking at. And so, the structures haven't been renewed. There are probably some that need to come down, some that, just hold special meaning that, could be reinvented, and things like that.
Okay, hold on one sec. I love that concept. Deciding which structures can be taken down and which structures need to be renewed. As I feel like there's absolutely an adventure there, in creating reestablishing the connection. It sounds like this wasn't abandoned so much as just things moved in a different direction, and that's totally okay. Maybe the river, changed course, and the new space was several miles away, and it made more sense to just head that direction. And they didn't take the thing. I mean, I feel like this could absolutely be a space where they were right on the cusp of new technology, and so they just left the old stuff here, instead of taking it with them, because now they had cool new stuff. How does that feel to you? How does that vibe?
Yeah, I think that would work. And I think that, the idea that, this, kind of like with people, we see you, we know these things exist and changes are happening, but we don't always stay for the whole show, whether that's with people or places or a TV show, you can come back in season 5. It's fine.
Right.
And so
So,
kind of
so this city has been laid to rest properly, right?
for the most part, yeah.
Is there like a building that didn't get laid to rest? Is that what's going on over here?
I think that, for there to be some buildings that, just don't, they just don't have, like, there's not an analog to the function that they previously had. There's not a way to connect, you know, like we can't connect the dial-up modem to,
Wi-Fi.
yeah, it just those
Absolutely.
things won't work. And so, sometimes we have to respectfully put those things away. Put it on a show, whatever.
Am I being a total asshole if I'm thinking that literally the conflict is that there are like 1 or 2 structures in the city that are trying to battle the other structures because they hate the fact that everything has moved on without them?
I mean, that's pretty, like, I can dig that because, like I said, it very much, our relationships with physical structures are very much like our relationships with people. And that's very much a thing that people are experiencing in real life. So I can totally see that being something that plays out.
Okay, so I'm gonna say for the ease of story, so it'll fit to a one-shot adventure. I feel like there's like one building that did not get laid to rest properly in this situation.
God, it's Chickasaw Walmart.
Chickasaw Mart, yep.
I mean, but think about it. So, okay, how did we store food 50 years ago versus how food is stored now? Like, we still need to eat. We still have needs that need to be met, but the new tech just does not jive with, the way that physical structure is built, and it doesn't fit in. It's not that the old way was bad, but things have changed.
So, all right. So the city has been laid to rest except for one building. That one building is the what are we actually calling this? That is not
so culturally, Chickasaw Walmart is called a corn crib, and it would be a structure that is like, think kind of like a deer blind, but bigger. And there might be things like baskets inside and things like that. But it may just be that, those storage methods and, I mean, you think about it, like, would you really want to put your stuff in a 100-year-old refrigerator? Like,
so now we need to look at a couple things. So the thing that's sort of creeping into my brain right now is because I always like subversive narratives. Things, that you are not expecting, like the things that you learn in Act 1 absolutely make sense in Act 3, but it is completely different than you thought. What I'm thinking right now is that there has to be sort of some reason that they now want to utilize this again, whether that is they're expanding, like the city after it moved has expanded back into this area and they want to reestablish, they need more housing for families and stuff like that. Or this could be like, a new trade center or like whatever else, or like, an industrial part of the city because it's a little distanced from the rest of it, or whatever that looks like. And as they come in as the adventurers come in, yes.
So I have an idea. So, one of the things that comes up often in historical stories about not just my tribe, but lots of tribes, is the idea of food as medicine. So, what if, we have this one building that feels like its purpose to bring that food that is also medicine to the people that care for it, that are connected to this area. um like there's something about the medicine being specific to that area, and so it wasn't something that was needed for a period of time, and now that issue that only that medicine could take care of completely. Like, other things were okay, but it's like Band-Aid compared to stitches. Like, we need this actual medicine that comes from this one region, and this is kind of the hub of where that is. And so moving back into that area, revitalizing that specific medicine. So we've got the need for tech, we've got the need for medicine, we've got the need for warriors, to be, all kind of working together to do this thing. And so that gives us a reason to be there, and then a need to both cooperate and, redo, renew, reuse, recycle the jigsaw more.
Okay, I feel like all of this can be tied in really effectively. So if the reason that people left was, so let's say this was like an astonishingly fertile area, right, to start with. But there was some sort of, and it could be like a special kind of fungi or some sort of like insect species that was really devastating to the human inhabitants, right? There was also a specific area that you could like grow food that would have the medicine necessary to make it safe to live there in general, right? That medicine would be stored inside this corn crib. And when they left, they didn't take any of it with them because they were moving to a place that didn't have that problem. And that is what is generating the issue in this city as people are trying to come back in, because there's a disconnect with that. Like, the people that knew that are no longer in the city. They do not have that piece of information that this area is dangerous without this medicine. And that I really want to sort of bring in, because it's something totally new for me, like I've never written a story about it, the concept of the emergent city, where like this is, the city itself wants to protect people and wants to be inhabited and wants the lifeblood and experiences in itself, because that's what sort of brings it life and, moves it, like fulfills its purpose. And there's this one building that has the information, knows how to make it safe, and no one is paying attention to it. Like that's sort of trauma.
Yeah, and so it kind of becomes that, that push-pull between, your music is too loud, and it's not because we're old and grumpy and want you to get off of our lawn, it's because you can't hear the monster coming over the music. And so like we have the information, but it's just not, we're kind of at war with ourselves and at war with it, when all we have to do is cooperate. And then like we don't actually have to do anything, we just have to cooperate, we just have to get around ourselves.
Yeah, I think that the conflict could absolutely just be a misunderstanding of this building trying to save the people that are coming in from this danger, and they don't understand it and they take it as an attack on them. So if there was if it's a fungi, for instance, that there are certain sections of certain buildings that have this fungus in them, that is like sort of a black mold type thing, but like 100 times worse, that can actively kill people, you know, like when they come into certain rooms. And this other building, like as people try to go into a room that's infected, this building somehow shatters that section of another building. And so the people trying to enter the room think they're being attacked by something, and they've got to figure it out. And as they move through, you know, like in Act 2, you know, first it's the setting up of the terror of they never know when they're going to be attacked, and like there's this fungus that's killing people and they can't identify it because anybody that knew about it is dead now. And Act 2 becomes trying to stop this building from destroying the rest of the town, and then Act 3 becomes understanding what's going on with the building and resolving that situation, which then allows for the inhabitation of this whole city.
So concept,
No.
trees talk to each other,
Absolutely.
through root systems, through you know, over hundreds of miles.
Yeah.
This is a thing. So, and that's kind of like maybe a prehistoric security system. So as the you know, the technology advanced, like you can move your tech, but you can't really bring the entire forest with you.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's this idea that, you know, maybe the tech developed in part from kind of their relationship with nature. You know, maybe, you know, some of those cornerstone type areas in some houses were actual trees that were living parts of that building.
Yeah.
And so that's how the storage area is interconnected with all of these things.
I've got this.
And they can't figure out how to disconnect it because it's not tech, it's bio.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so aspen, when they're growing, there is literally a mother tree in the center of the aspen grove, which is all one root system. We could absolutely make like, you know, something similar to an aspen, you know, but just giant, where it is like this aspen is like this mother tree is the cornerstone of the corn crib, you know, and all of the other buildings, you know, I love this, that it's like the entire city is laid out in the golden spiral based on the growth patterns of these trees wherever, like where they would pop up naturally. And that's where new buildings would be set. That's how the city itself let them know where to build and what to build. Okay.
And survive weather and, you know, other issues, and you know, what to eat and how to know where things were, which really ties into, you know, the way that those tribes in that Mississippian region that were doing agriculture, were not doing that in, like, if you watch Disney's Pocahontas, like they had a literal cornfield. Y'all, that ain't how that works. So there are several different concepts, but one that I've been really into is this idea that you have trees and other, you know, plants and things that are all kind of intermingled with each other. They protect each other. They fertilize each other. They kind of really work together. And then so it's almost kind of like walking out into your forest garden, and you're like Snow White. And, you know, every year in the fall, there's squash here. And in, you know, the summer, there's berries here. And, you know, it just all kind of works out. But, you know, if you don't know where to look and you don't know where to find things, and you start trying to knock down trees or trying to cut firewood from the trees that are important to maintaining your food, like you're going to be in trouble real fast, because it takes a long time for a tree to grow back. So I think that really ties in with the bits and pieces that that I got from the researchers about there being 3 nights with no fire, and that being kind of the way to reset things, because what do you need for fire? Fuel. What's fuel when you're in a forest? Trees. So, you know, if you don't have a fire crackling and you can listen, the communication can actually happen. And so maybe there's, you know, something with that concept of 3 that, you know, on that 3rd day, like there's a whole thing. So that's where I'm at. Okay.
Absolutely. Okay. So first off, what level of magic is there? Is there any? Is this?
So the concept of magic is kind of different. I mean, do you really need magic when you have text that you can literally print whatever you want? You know, if you need a shovel, you just doop 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 and shovel. Like, so
the reason I'm asking about it is just are there treants in this? Are there active movement plants?
Not necessarily. I think that the spirit of things as they are should have the ability to communicate, maybe not necessarily in words, but you know, maybe you know, pictures, feelings, that sort of thing. So kind of you get the general idea, which is maybe part of why the people didn't get it. You know, if you're relying on words, and that's not how something is communicating with you, you know, because language evolves. So I mean, if you go to an area, you know, hashtag Appalachians, and try to talk to people, there's gonna be some disconnect. A little bit.
All right, fabulous. So what we are looking at this point, I feel like, is coming into a city. They left before because I feel like we need to really define what the danger is. Is it like a blight? Is it like a hyperactive blight that's hitting certain trees? Is it like a rogue? Like, I know that like the mycelial network is huge. Is it like a sort of invasive type of fungi that's trying to is in a battle with the mycelial network underneath the forest? Like, what's the big danger here?
I think to me, part of the issue is getting a new group of people to work together, but also just the idea of communicating and misunderstanding. So, you know, finding that common ground to communicate, because if you don't, you won't have food. This is going to be, you know, a huge flop. You know, the expansion that has been funded, maybe it's, you know, from the folks who are you know, have bought this stuff, or they're not bought, but you know, they're looking to expand, and so they need this area to, you know, continue whatever they're doing. So I feel like
I think I have something that'll fit in there. An invasive fungal species that actively harms, is actively attracted to electrical impulses. So it's attracted to both human beings and technology. And there are plenty of fungal species that exude acid onto things. And so it actively destroys metallic technology and living tissue. And that there are seeds in the corn crib that are for specific flower species whose pollen destroys the fungus. And these flowers need to be planted everywhere to stop the fungus from thriving in this area, and that's what will make it useful to live there. But nobody knows what this is, what's going on, and so the whole thing.
Or that, you know, the idea that those need to be planted everywhere, but specifically that they, you know, maybe they grow best next to this certain kind of plant. So, you know, the system is trying to say, this plant, this one, put it here. And the people are like, we're going to put them in rows. And we're like, God, no.
Right. Pull it together, please.
And, you know, because there could be, you know, the outside idea that, you know, this hasn't been an issue for a really long time, and it was a long time ago, and now it's kind of had a resurgence. And so the only place that ever successfully got rid of it was this village. And so now the only way for everyone else to be safe and kind of bring back that, you know, if we don't do this, our entire civilization is
There we go. Now we're cooking with gas. So that would absolutely be a reason to come to this village is, you know, we need to figure out what's going on here. So, all right. So the whole area is being attacked by this fungi. And there's, all right, hold on, let me get some stuff happening over here. The whole region is being attacked by a type of fungi that is attracted to electrical impulses. It could be a slime mold, so it's actually mobile. Like it can pick up.
Just creepy.
Good.
So yeah, and then, you know, the idea that, you know, the precursor to this technological stuff had a way to protect itself, and, you know, maybe also like the reason that people didn't just stay here and continue cultivating this is because that protective stuff also messes with tech, like, you know, being inside a concrete building. So it creates a barrier, and that barrier doesn't allow for, you know, the signals and the communicators and things like that. And so rather than stay there and continue cultivating that, when they thought the slime mold was just completely eradicated forever, you're doing the laughing and excitement.
I gotta think. There is the reason that this area is so, is first of all, so fertile. And the reason that they were able to actually start moving things forward, especially quickly technologically here, is because the plants that like help stave off the slime mold, what they do is they actually remediate the soil. They pull all the heavy metals out of it and actually create a type of pollen that has an electrical charge because of the way it's formed within the flower that attracts the slime mold, but also kills it. Is also like that, like there's a certain, like maybe like cobalt or something like that disrupts the mold, but doesn't affect the people around it. Something like that allows for, you know, the disruption both of the mold, but also of some of the technology around it.
So the flower that does the thing with the slime mold being planted next to this bush makes the fruit from this bush do a thing. And so the way to save the civilization as a whole is not only to get it planted and grow it, but kind of the part two, or the moving forward, way for people to maybe continue the story on their own, is that you have to make the flower and the berry do a thing so that it can be used and not do all the tech.
Okay, so I feel like in a situation like that, there's the sort of the act three of this can be that. So you've got, so act one, you discover the danger, right? You discover this slime bolt. Like, you find out, like, people haven't really been able to figure out what the hell's going on because it seems innocuous, right? And because it's acidic, it doesn't really leave any evidence behind. It just destroys everything it touches and then moves on. So they know that things are disappearing, and people are disappearing, and they don't know. So act one can be discovering the slime mold. Act two can be discovering like the flowers in the corn crib, that might be left. Like, there's still like sacks of like the actual flowers themselves that are full of like the pollen and things like that, and the seeds, and discovering that the slime mold doesn't come anywhere near this stuff. And then act three could be the fact that like this other bush that needs to be part of this system will only grow around trees from this grouping of trees, that it's part of this particular mycelial system. So at the end of the day, if they want to save their town, they actually have to take one of these trees with them back home with these other things, with the flowers and the bush. I feel like that is 100% legit. That is, we've got a direction that they're going, things that they have to discover. There's conflict, there's danger, because if this is like the center of where the slime molds are, then this place could potentially be horrifically dangerous for everything. Like, there are no animals in the vicinity because there's no sign of anything. Like, everything's just been eaten by this acidic slime mold. So there's not even bones around anymore, and they'll just come and get you. And so there's combat, there's conflict, there's resolutions, there is an understanding of communication, all that kind of stuff. How are we feeling about writing that story?
That sounds great. I mean, I think that kind of rings in all the things, and it gives us a lot of room to play.
I love it. Okay, so let's see. So the whole region is being attacked by a type of slime mold. It is attracted to electrical impulses. It attacks both technology and people. Because it is acidic, it leaves no trace when it has destroyed technology or biological creatures. All right, fabulous. The city is based around the mother tree. Every other tree in the city is a component of the root system system of the mother tree. There are 3 plants necessary to eradicate the slime mold in a region. There is a certain type of flower that can be found in the old corn crib. There is a bush that the flowers must be planted next to. That bush only grows in the vicinity of trees with a connection to the mother tree. All right, fabulous. So we've got our background. This is what we're aiming at. So chapter 1. The first thing that's going to happen in the chapter is we're just going to do a little outlining here. So chapter 1, the adventurers are dispatched to find a cure for this slime mold infestation that is destroying all the technology in the region. Chapter 2 is going to be the adventurers discover the corn rib and the symbiotic relationship with the bush. Let's see, getting the region. Number 2, they discover the infestation and the flower that can help. Chapter 2, they discover the corn crib and the symbiotic relationship with the bush. And chapter 3, they discover that the bush only grows in the vicinity of the mother tree and must take a sapling back to their community to protect the whole area. Okay, I love it. So now let's talk about chapter 1. Let's talk about first off, how do they know that this city is going to have what is needed?
Oh, the same way that, us nerds find out all sorts of things. Like, you try Googling something and that doesn't work. So you try 5 other words and you just kind of keep drilling down until you're like, okay, well, this kind of sounds vaguely like a thing. And piece stuff together. While the world is burning down behind you, this is fine. And so, I feel like that gives it a reason for, either like maybe a small group of researchers to go on their own, or, an expedition from, Cahokia or another major city or something, to kind of have, the scientist, medic, warrior, beefy human kind of party going in. So I mean, there are options of ways to play that.
Ooh, I love, because you've got all kinds of machines that help you fly, right?
Oh yeah, we can fly.
I would love if this is sort of like a suspense slash sort of like horror one shot that starts with like taking your ship there. So the adventure starts with you being there, right? And then eventually you have to leave the ship, right? But when you come back, the ship is like literally half eaten by this mold. Like there's no way, it's just destroyed. And you are now trapped here in this space. Is that a nice setup vibe for this?
I mean, yeah, I think that could totally be a way that it could go. And, trying to cling to that tech. Like, oh my God, what is this? You're trying to Google it and you don't have signal and you try to climb a tree, ironically, maybe, and, to try to, figure out why we can't connect to the things, and all of our connections are gone, and now we're here and we have no choice but to figure it out.
Absolutely. Okay, I am going to put a new thing down here, Appendix A. This is going to be slime mold stat block. There we go. All right, so we need the slime mold stat block. Fabulous. Let's see, the infestation and the flower can house. So, all right, so it's destroying all technology in the region. The main researchers have discovered scraps of information that indicate an old settlement may have faced this danger in the past and found a way to overcome it. But there is no information about what the solution might be. All right, fabulous. All right, so adventurers start the adventure having landed their ship just on the outskirts of this town, and let me see here. All right, let's see. And all right, I'm looking at chat. Slime mold that eventually turns into a gelatinous cube. I mean, I'm into it. There's yes, there's okay, so adventurers start the adventure having landed their ship just on the outskirts of town, and without any real information about what they are looking for. As soon as they leave the ship, it will be attacked by the slime mold. When they return, the ship is destroyed. Okay, I feel like we could do a delightful encounter in Act 1, where it is sort of like, to really amp up the danger that they're in, could be that, like, the first house that they enter, like, there's a sort of small version of this slime mold that, like, attacks them, and they have to, and it'll be like a difficult fight, so that they will not want to fight them very often, like, show them this thing is really dangerous. And then when they go back to their ship to, like, get their, like, whatever, their weapons or their armor or more information or something like that, the whole ship is now infested with this slime mold that is giant, and anybody that tries to enter the ship will immediately just be attacked, leaving them here in this space. Okay. The ship is destroyed. All right. The first encounter will happen when anyone enters a building, they will be immediately attacked by the slime mold. It should be a difficult fight that does real damage to the party. We return the ship is destroyed. Anyone attempting to enter the ship will be attacked by a giant version of the slime mold. I'm going to say it is okay for a party member to die in this encounter.
I mean, and you might, because where's the tech?
Right? It should be harrowing. All right, so we are setting this up like as, okay, now you're stuck here. Not only do you have to save all of society, but there's something out here that's just gonna murder you. It's gonna destroy you. And it is attracted to tech, which means if you bring your tech with you, it will hunt you down.
Oh God, it's gonna be the super tech nerd that's gonna die every time.
Yeah.
That should be part of the like the more tech items that you have, like the more critical die you get when you're rolling against the slime.
I love it. Oh, let me ask you. So, I am much more familiar with 5e. Do you want to do two versions of this? One that is a 5e version of this and one that is compatible with Coyote and Crow?
I mean, I'm more focused on something that's playable in Coyote and Crow.
Absolutely.
If you want an alternate that fits 5e, I'm cool with that.
Fabulous. And one of the things that I'm thinking is that this could actually be a bridge to Coyote and Crow. That people that are more familiar with 5e could play this and be like, oh, and here's a version that come and see Coyote and Crow over here.
Because all of the stories and stuff make way more sense in World for Coyote and Crow. But yeah, so
let's build this for Coyote and Crow, and then I will take it and translate it into 5e as well. So you'll have two versions of this.
Sounds cool. So I definitely think the more tech items you have, the more option, the bigger chance you should have of getting something critical and canceling out success, or there's a lot of dice for a reason.
So let me get that concept down into the slime mold stat block. The more tech items a person has, the more likely they will be targeted and the fight gets more and more difficult every time they utilize tech.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I think kind of along the same lines while we're thinking about stats and things, I think kind of a secret story guide behind the scenes thing could be that if something happens in the vicinity of the flower and the seeds and things, there's like a secret extra success, and until they figure out that connection, they don't know that that's why they're getting a boost. So that's part of, does that make sense? Like figuring out
The extra success while in the vicinity of flowers. Fabulous. And because I don't want like whoever is the techie to just be constantly targeted and not really have anything to, just feel victimized, because that's always terrible as a player. Like if you just feel like this thing, you are being targeted at this thing, and there's nothing you can do. Any tech items can be used to distract the mole by activating a tech item and throwing it into the distance or something like that.
It is targeting tech, but it is not intelligent enough to.
Yeah.
So it's basically my dog. Got it.
I love it. Tech items can be used to distract the slime mold in order to run them in order to escape. All right, fabulous. Cool. So the more tech items you have, the more likely you're going to get critted on. There's secret successes around the flowers, and tech items can be used as a distraction to get the slime mold away from you. Delightful. All right, so we've got our Act 1, I think, do we? Adventurers are dispatched to find a cure for the slime mold infestation that is destroying the technology in the region. The main researchers have discovered scraps of information that indicate an old settlement may have faced this danger in the past and found a way to overcome it, but there's no information about what the solution might be. Adventurers start the adventure having landed their ship just on the outskirts of this town without any real information about what they're looking for. As soon as they leave the ship, they will be attacked by the slime. Nope. As soon as they enter any building, they will be attacked by the slime mold. When they return, the ship is destroyed. Anyone attempting to enter the ship will be attacked by a giant version of the slime mold. It is okay for a party member to die in this encounter. It should be harrowing. And then we don't need the third thing because we've already covered it. I want to put
idea. If a party member dies in this adventure, in the third act, when we figure out that we have to get permission to take one of these trees back to the other area, some part of that spirit or consciousness or something connects your dead party member and the tree to their home place. So the way to, someone has to die for this to work.
I was just gonna say that. I was just gonna say, we need to make essentially a spirit class that it's
and that's totally a thing. With it. Okay, so in order for the connection to work, the tree from near where the interment, or however the group has chosen to have funerary services for their fallen friend, or let them rot, whatever they have chosen to do, they may not understand at that point that this is going to be a thing, so they may have to go back and not be a dick, and so but that connection from their person to the location that the tree is coming from, getting that permission and consent to take that then back to their home and put that near the home or building or important place. Maybe it's the research facility or the medical facility or whatever, something important to that character would be in their home city, is the connection to bridge that So the dead player saves the world,
Yeah.
but they're dead.
Yeah. So in order for this to be fun for a player to actually play, we have to make sure that they have some agency even as a spirit. That there's something that they can do to help the party along. And I feel like that's a really interesting dynamic where it's like you've got like somebody that's dead is still participating and nobody really knows how. And I feel like that's such a fabulous, like creative, like storytelling device where it's like, ooh, no, you see like, little floating lights over there, and that's literally the spirit like activating a bioluminescent aspect of like one of the bushes,
And that could be something too that, when we figure out the berry from the bush and the flower does the thing, and then we can transport and do other stuff, that enhances that aspect. And then that opens up a whole other thing where, maybe this is a thing all over the place and people just didn't know how to access it. And, a whole nother way for a story guide to go with that. There's certainly stats for spirit in Coyote and Crow that could be played up to, where a story guide could have the freedom to, give them extra, possibilities for success in doing that. If you have no tech and high spirit, like, hot damn, you might figure it out real fast.
right?
But if you're all warriors, like, it's gonna be hard.
Is there a way that is there a mechanic that we can use that it's like the spirit is never allowed to actually communicate directly, like they have to use the environment in order to do so?
I think that that kind of plays into where we are with this story. So there's definitely the element of fire in the cleansing and the spiritual aspect, that maybe that can be a component where images in a fire are certainly I don't want to go all the way to the burning bush scenario, but there are options. There are ways to communicate with flowers and fire and bushes and things. And so, that may be something that, maybe there's an option to activate that either in smoke or in fire. That could be something that, literally, is translated as those electrical impulses within the trees themselves, could translate to something that just doesn't quite make it. Like I was saying, like, here's a picture, but we don't communicate in picture. We communicate in, the tech and the numbers and the things. And so having to unlock that ability to communicate with nature, to have that connection.
There is the electrical impulses in the tech run on a specific wavelength that is contrary to the wavelengths that the trees utilize, and therefore, like, there is some sort of, or maybe the bushes, something like that, where there's a natural bioluminescence that could reveal the spirit to people. Like the spirit can exist in that light, but having any technology near it cancels that light out. So you can't see anything until you actually get rid of the technology, quiet everything down, and are able to actually see what's going on.
What?
Yes?
I was gonna say, Dungeon Glitch suggested you could hide a clue within the slime that you can only see with second eyes or the text spell.
Ooh, I love that.
So, like, the in-game version of, like, the Benjamin Franklin glasses.
There's okay. I feel like the first act should be somebody dying and everybody running away. That's the first act. We are establishing the danger. It's terrifying. Nowhere is safe, until you find the corn. That's right. All right, so dead party member becomes a spirit. They can be seen in smoke or in what? Oh,
Like
sorry,
smoke, fire, light, something like that.
They can be seen in smoke or in the bioluminescent. That is not how you spell that word. There's no X in bioluminescent. I got fat fingers.
There is now. It's fun.
Thank you so much, Air Genasi. 9 months. We have stream, baby. You're wonderful. Thank you so
9
much.
months. You're amazing. Harrison Nasi, I love it. You are in time for slime. We're discussing how to do fabulous things while not being eaten by a giant slime. Yes. They can be seen in smoke or in the bioluminescent glow of the bushes that are needed in the solution. The bushes glow is countermanded when technology is near. So the other players will not be able to see them until they get rid of their tech. All right. Fabulous.
Or until the slime eats it, or them, whichever.
Right. There's all right. So I love the clue in the slime.
So, question: what happens if more than one person dies? Like, what if we get down to one live person?
Honestly, I love that. I love that, where it's like literally a whole team of spirits and like one person just trying to figure out what's going on. Like, I love the idea that you've got all these spirits exploring things and actually finding out solutions to things, and then the whole story becomes about trying to communicate this to the person that's still alive. So I'm 100% down with it. All right. So
I'm kind of excited to see someone kill like almost their entire party.
Well, this is the thing. I've never had a game where somebody's a red shirt before, you know?
You're all red shirts until you're not. Yeah.
All right, so the party member becomes a spirit. They can be seen in smoke or in the bioluminescent glow of the bushes that are needed in the solution. The bushes glow is countermanded. That's incorrect. It's not plural, it's possessive. The bushes glow is countermanded when technology is near, so the other players will not be able to see them until they get rid of them. These spirits may explore the region. I mean, this could totally be it. Like, you need a spirit because they're the only ones that can explore the region without, without danger. Explore the region without fear of the slime mold. But must find ways to gain the party's attention. All right, fabulous. I feel like that's super solid for Act 1. A couple of major encounters, a player death, and let's move on to Act 2, which of course is just going to be a very nice tea party where everyone sits down and talks about their feelings. All right. In Act 2, the things that need to be discovered are going to be, I think, both the bush and the flowers in the corn crib. That's going to be Act 2
Yeah.
All right. And the symbiotic relationship with the bush. All right. So to start, I think establishing a safe zone around the corn crib because of the flowers that exist there will be important, so that there's not that the emotional fatigue throughout the adventure of just being on the run the whole time. You know, there needs to be space for the players to sort of recollect, deal with what's going on, and then go back out into the dangerous area. So let's see, there is a safe zone is established around the corn crib. This will allow the players to rest and pull themselves together. But the longer they rest, the more slime molds begin to gather, being drawn to their technology. All right, so now I think this is where having a clue, not necessarily in the slime mold, but having a clue from the slime mold. Like, there can absolutely be a slime mold patrolling the area just outside of the range of the flowers. And this is where we can show them the bushes, right? There are certain bushes where like the slime mold will split and go around the bush instead of just crawling over it, which it's doing with everything else. So to give them a hint and let them know there is no safety out there. You like, this thing's coming for you. You have to come up with a plan. You have to start distracting it by throwing tech in different areas so that you can go and explore something, right? I love it.
Yeah, and I think that can be influenced too by, you know, if someone's already dead, if you know, if there are multiple players in the spirit realm at this point, like that could be a dynamic where you know, proximity to those things, you know, line of sight, plus, you know, having these amplified messages, like maybe you notice it faster, or you notice it at all. You turn to look.
The spirits can amplify the bioluminescence.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you have more dead people,
the light gets brighter. I love it. Oh, this is so hot. I'm loving this. This makes me so happy. All right, so
all I'm saying is all of you can thank Sarah Gailey and their weird ass book that's coming out. Like, not that some of their other stuff isn't fucking weird, but specifically the one that I can't talk about in detail because it hasn't been technically published yet.
Oh, well, there you go. There you go. I love it. Don't copyright strike my channel.
No, we're not doing it. And they know I've been tweeting about their book all week.
I love it.
At 4:00 in the morning. So the more dead people we have, the brighter you can see things. Oh my god, if anybody plays this game and says, I see dead people, I'm literally going to hunt you down.
You just die. You just die. Like, that's... I'm going to put that in here. If you say, I see dead people, you will immediately be attacked by the slime mold and be consumed.
Like, it'll be like Audrey 2, there is no song, you have no reprise, you're dead, you're gone forever, goodbye.
Done. All right, spirit members of the party can amplify the bioluminescence of the bushes helping to point the party in their direction. I love how sort of simple this whole thing is, which will allow just a shitload of creativity from both the storyteller and all of the players. That it's like literally all you have to do is go grab a couple of plants and leave. You know, that's what you got to do. You got to find three ingredients.
One of you needs to die, but that's fine. You don't need to.
Hello, it makes me happy. I am that asshole DM that does. I have gotten to kill my entire party and then have them continue on. You know, and it's nice when you get to murder your party and have all of them be like, "What? Did we just TPK?" And it's like, technically, yes, but you're fine. Everything's fine.
Fine. You're supposed to be dead. You'll like it. We promise. It's cool.
Yeah, we have a thing in our like our season 1 of Delver's Stream where there's now the phrase just surprise red dragon because I needed the party to die and they weren't dying, so I had to pull a surprise red dragon and murder my party with it. You know, it's important. These things are important. You know, we're not going to have a surprise red dragon in here, sadly, but we can have a surprise slime mold. We sure can.
I mean, it's not really a surprise if somebody's already been eaten.
Oh my god, I'm so excited about this. All right, so helping to point the party in their direction. All right, so safe zone around the corn crib. The longer they rest, the more the slime mold begins to gather, being drawn to the technology. Within the corn crib are the seeds of the flowers. There are also boxes of the dried flowers themselves. I feel like from those boxes, we can give them an option. What's the way that they would discover how to use these things against the mold? Like whether or not there is some sort of, in 5e, it is like a knowledge check of some kind.
I think it would be fair to say that could be, you know, either there could be a spell, there could be, if someone has medicine, they could try, you know, maybe a scientific approach to, like, is this a tincture? Is it a tea? Is it a poultice? Like, what is it that makes this, you know, because maybe, you know, they notice the thing with the bushes and then the flowers and with, you know, the physical area, and then kind of figuring out how far that goes. It's kind of a process of elimination, and it will very much depend on what they have to work with. So at least in Coyote and Crow, so whatever your path is, that will be the method that you use to do. So if it's spirit, you know, maybe you're talking to, you know, trying to communicate with the spirit of the plant, which is really difficult when what you have is, you know, a dried flower or a seed that's not necessarily a germinated plant. They have some tech that can accelerate some growth, and they maybe use that in that specific safe zone, but it only works so fast. You know, instead of maybe seconds or minutes that it would work back home, you know, maybe it takes an hour or two to germinate something to the point that it could be, you know, manipulated. So there are so many options to play into that. And I think maybe that could be like, here's a list of some of the ideas, places that you could go with that for the different paths. It's definitely not a thing that you're going to be able to kind of strong arm into. I think that there definitely needs to be kind of trip ups for folks who try that. If you try to rage in with your tech and shoot it, it's just going to eat you. I mean, it's literally going to be like the equivalent of trying to squirt fuel from a small canister onto a fire. It's just going to travel back into the canister and explode, and you're going to be screwed. Because that's that's literally what the stuff is going to do. Because it really only has one function: eat the stuff that it's attracted. And it can do that very quickly. And the more tech a person has, that affects their roles, but also in setting. So like the ship has a lot of tech. That's going to attract more and accelerate the speed of eating. So like if somebody drops their communication device or a second eye or something, it's going to kind of make its way to it. But if you've got a whole ship sitting there, or you've got a large weapon that's been activated or something like that, it's going to move very quickly and consume it faster. So with that in mind,
absolutely,
think about where you are and what you're doing. So the more you try to punch at it,
I love that. I love that. There's no way to defeat this thing with force. You know,
like you literally have to have the consent of the plants in order to be able to do the thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we've got, I love that. Let's see. So the ship is destroyed and we're attempting to enter ship. So the party must die in this encounter. It should be harrowing. Any time during the adventure that tech is activated, it will draw the attention of the molds. And let's see, all right, so chapter 2, a safe zone established around the corn crib. Every building at this point is crawling visibly with slime molds. Only the corn crib is not.
Ooh. And the reason that the mold wasn't already there, like when they first arrived, is because obviously they got there, and what do you do when you get to a new place and there's not like lights and stuff? So they went around, deploying the tech to turn on the lights and set stuff up, and setting up camp activated this slime mold. So the ship was the first thing, and it's big and it's full of tech, so here it comes, right? But they're also dispersing their tech in all of these buildings except for the corn crib, because there's it's way up off the ground and there's plants and stuff in there and they don't know what it is, so they're like, well, we're not going to go in there because we don't need any of that stuff. But you do.
Any buildings in which tech was deployed will be infested with slime molds when the party return. All right. When they return to the ship, let's make this as clear as possible. The ship is destroyed. And that can absolutely be like the slime mold was sort of out in the world, and then the ship, this massive conglomeration of technology, is the thing that draws all of the slimes, creating this giant slime. Is there? All right, fabulous. So we've got The adventurers discover the corn crib and the symbiotic relationship with the bush in this. So a safe zone is established around the corn crib. Every building at this point is crawling visibly with slime molds. Only the corn crib is not. This will allow players to rest and pull themselves together, but the longer they rest, the more slime molds begin to gather, being drawn to their technology. Within the corn crib are seeds of the flowers. There are also boxes of dried flowers themselves. The dried flowers can be converted into weapons against the molds. They will any part of the flowers can be utilized to generate small. I'm thinking like, like sort of a powder grenade, where it's like, you throw this and the powder lingers in the air and the slime mold will not come close to it, type thing. Will that work?
I think that would work. Yeah.
Okay. Any part of the flower can be used to generate a small cloud of a safe zone. This will generate a small cloud of a safe zone by crushing up the flowers and throwing them into the air. This will only last a few moments. There is enough material to create. I don't want it to be too much, like maybe like 5, I want to say, things, so that like they can utilize into like escape, but I want this to be a very limited resource that they've got access to.
So like number in party -1 or 2?
Ooh, fabulous, yes. Let's do number in party -1. There is enough material to create X -1 bombs or charges where X equals the total number of people in the party. All right, fabulous. There's enough material to create these charges. And I feel like we're going to need to have an active demonstration of the power of the flowers and the bushes. What I'm thinking is that like the bioluminescence is not just light, that there is a small sort of static charge that accompanies the bioluminescence, and that is something that can actually destroy the slime molds. Do we like that?
I'm tracking.
Okay. All right, so we've got helping to point the party in their direction. When any part of the flowers come into contact with the bushes, the bioluminescence amplifies and generates a static field that will kill the molds. All right, fabulous. So we've got
Dungeon Glitch suggests that it could also boost tech, but I could also say that it makes tech non-attractive to the slime. In addition,
But I think that trying to alter the way that the slime moves is going to be beyond what motivates the slime is going to be beyond our ability to translate effectively in a one shot. But I like that. But I do like the idea of cloaking the tech. Um, that it distracts the electrical or like confuses the electrical impulses that are given
Switches the
off.
channel.
They're
Yeah.
what?
Like it switches the channel.
Yeah. All right. I love it. That kills the mold. Thank you, guys. You're fabulous. Bioluminescence amplifies and generates a static field that kills the molds. It also distracts or alters the frequency. No, it also jams the sensory organs in the mold. That's what it is. So that they can no longer sense technology in their vicinity. All right, fabulous. I love that. Okay, so we've got the flowers, we've got the seeds, we've got the safe zone. Oh, what I'm going to say is if all the flower material is used to create weapons, the corn crib is no longer the safe zone.
Yep. Don't fuck it up.
Yup. Okay, so we've got the spirits trying to help. They're still alive compatriots. They can interact with the bushes. We've got the flowers. We've got the fact that the flowers can be utilized effectively. Oh, the spirit members of the party can amplify the bioluminescence of the bushes, helping point the party in their direction. This also can generate the same static pulse as the flowers, so that the party can actually they can see that it is like harming the slime, so that gives them a clue as to like, oh, we need to put the flower with this bush. All right, I am 100% into this. All right, so we get there, people die. Discover the corn crib, all of the slimes show up. It's terrifying. You can't go anywhere. You see the bush, there's a little bit of hope. You figure out the flowers, that's delightful. And then finally in Act 3, we need to pull together how they are going to discover the mother tree connection to all of this.
So I think that goes back to, you have to have at least one party member die, and figuring out once you figure out the flower and bush connection, it's really a matter of continuing that to figure out that, okay, they have to grow together, but then they also go together in these other ways. And so that can definitely be something that, through images, through, the way that the lights do things.
Because this will give the spirit something to do too, if the spirit can communicate with the mother tree and gain information that way, not necessarily.
Absolutely. Yeah, they would all be part of the same system. And that ties into the idea that in order to be able to sustain this and bring it back to the other affected areas in other parts of the region, you have to have that connection between the person who has completed the ceremony and passed away there in an effort to try to um, you know, gain access to this knowledge, you become part of that system. And so becoming part of that system allows you to communicate with your group to get the consent of the mother tree to take that tree, along with the accompanying bush and seeds, to
What
then
if
disperse them.
what if the consent is the mother tree essentially imbuing one of her saplings with the spirit of the person? That's the communication that needs to happen, and that only when that connection is created will the spirit be able to effectively communicate everything that is needed for this to happen, which would give the spirit, while they can't, they're probably not doing massive amounts of direct communication with the party, there's still a whole secondary thing that they're doing so that they're not bored at the table, that there's cool things happening over there. Okay, the mother tree will...
Dungeon Glitch has a question for Wulf. For one-shot characters, would you suggest a gift/curse of secret could be baked into the module or product info?
Yeah, I think that is definitely something that could be used. And that could either be a dynamic of the person who is who has done the research that kind of brought the group to this region, having that additional information, or people who characters who have the gifts and or burdens that would give them some insight there. And I think that's definitely something that could be put in. Yeah.
Love it. I love it. Okay. So we've got, all right, so the mother tree will, the spirit will, only the spirit can communicate with the mother tree. The mother tree will inform the spirit after the connection is made between the flower and the bush that if the party wants this solution to work, that one final piece is missing. The bush only grows in the vicinity of trees with a connection to the mother tree. In order to take a tree from here and allow a new grove to grow, the spirit must imbue itself into one of the mother's saplings. All right, fabulous. Only the spirit can communicate with the mother tree. All right, what are we missing? We've got a fabulous, exciting opening where somebody dies. We've got a second act where solutions are being created, things are being discovered while the danger increases. There's, let me put this into the second one. The more slime molds begin to gather, being drawn to that technology. anytime a person leaves the safe zone, um, they will have a very limited amount of time before they are attacked by a. Okay, just let them know you can leave the safe zone, but you will get attacked. You got to figure out how to. You got to be ingenious about how you actually deal with this stuff.
Well, and I think especially because this is a one shot and we don't want it to go on forever. There is a limited amount of time that you can leave the safe zone, but also the more times you leave the safe zone to go stick around, do something else, the shorter those windows become until you're just completely surrounded and you can't.
Yeah. For their attack by the mold.
Forced into action.
That amount of time is reduced every time you leave the safe zone. All right, fabulous. So we now have a second act where the danger continues. The danger is mounting. You have to find a solution. Do we want to do a ticking clock where eventually there's just no way to escape, that you just will be destroyed? Or do you always want to leave an option?
I think that there can be an option to leave on foot, but there has to be something with the existing buildings. Remember the summer houses have the floor that's woven and it's kind of up, so there's stuff in there. So there could be some non-tech that would enable a person to leave the vicinity. But you're essentially, there's enough of whatever the thing is for one person to leave. And if you don't make it back before you run out of, if you haven't figured out how to grow the planet thing, you're essentially leaving everyone else to die.
Yeah. Okay.
Which would then allow the slime to become dormant, and you could come back and try to commune with their spirits if you figured out that part. But if you figured out that, but you haven't figured out the flower thing and the doing the stuff and the are you really gonna figure all that out? Maybe if you watch this stream, I guess.
Right. Strategy guide stream right over here.
Ta-da!
All right, so how about if there is...
Welcome, Raiders. Thank you, Roll Together RPG.
Oh my gosh, yay! Hi, stream team. How are you, Roll Together? We are writing a fabulous, fabulous one-shot adventure based in the world of Coyote and Crow, which is very exciting. Our guest is Wulf, who is glorious, and we are getting towards the end of this now. And we're putting some final touches on this. So welcome. Thank you for joining us. And let me see. So, what was the thing? Oh, so if there's something, what if there is underneath, there is something like a doll or a crown of flowers?
Oh, this creepy shit has to be a doll. The doll is stuffed with
the flowers.
Stripped down pieces of remnants from where maybe they were making rope from the stems of the bushes, and they had braided in some of the flower parts and things to kind of give it that same sort of medicine. And so that's what the doll's stuffed with. And so for some reason this doll is is the thing, and then, you know, you can't really open it up to figure it out, but, you know, the doll does things.
The doll is stuffed with the flowers, and holding this doll will keep the molds at bay indefinitely, but the protection only extends to one person. So if a group tries to use it, everyone who is not carrying the doll will be attacked anyway.
Yeah. No hot potatoing the creepy doll, you will die.
Right. Yeah, you're done. All right, fabulous. So we've established what they need to find out, what's going on. In chapter 3, the spirit is communicating with the mother tree. I think that we should, to sort of put a nice button on the adventure, there needs to be some sort of ceremony that will allow the spirit to move into the sapling.
So, you know how sometimes you're just like hanging out, like maybe it's just me and I'm weird, but like you're just hanging out and like you just kind of get a little do 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 do, like there's just a little melody that just like, this is a thing. So that could be part of, you know, there are all kinds of ways to translate that. Like it could be, you know, an electrical pulse, tap tap tap, to translate that. You know, some folks that are super sensitive, like maybe they have a high spirit or something like that, might be able to sense those sounds as part of the light pulses and things like that. And that ceremony could literally be eating the berries and singing a song. That's very that's very on brand for everything. And so, you know, that may be you know, part of it. You know, you kind of
Right.
take that in.
I'm gonna put in chapter 1. Those who are very sensitive will hear a quiet melody anytime they are near one of the trees attached, you know, the trees that are part of the mother tree's grove. Others in the party might see,
like you pick it up from them humming it, like it just kind of becomes an earworm.
yeah. Others in the party might see patterns in the bark of the trees that are mathematical representations of musical notes. But everyone in the party who has some way to recognize it will be exposed to the song of, what do we want to call this? The song of renewal, the song of joining, the song of, what's happening?
Weaving song.
Ooh, exposed to the weaving song. All right,
Because then
fabulous.
that plays back into the doll and weaving and things, and yes.
Yeah. Let's see. There's all right. So in chapter 3, throughout the adventure, there will be references to the weaving song. In order to connect the spirit to the tree, a ceremony must be performed. The ceremony includes eating berries from the bush while singing the weaving song. This will allow the party to journey back to their homes with the seeds of the flowers, the bush, and the sapling. This will allow new groves to be grown, protecting the cities from the slime mold. All right. All right, how are we feeling about this? It starts out as a horror adventure. Things get crazy. We start discovering how to actually defeat these things, and it has nothing to do with any of the tech that you've brought. That you have to be able to like get rid of it, quiet it, so that you can hear the song. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Where is this? Okay, the weaving song. The more tech items you carry, the harder it is to hear the song. There we go. So eventually you have to get rid of all your tech, all of that good stuff. You're going to face down these crazy slime molds. You're going to find a way to defeat them. And you are going to walk back home because your ship is destroyed with the things necessary to save the community. How do we feel about this adventure?
Sounds good. We're going home with a tree and a doll. It's fine.
Yay, trees and dolls. All right, so resolutions. Let's see. If the party, I always like to start with like the worst outcome. If the party is killed and only one person escapes by carrying the doll, another party can be sent to find the solution, though many communities will be devastated by the molds.
If everyone dies,
mm-hmm.
like if they don't find the doll, everyone dies. There is no way to really communicate that back because their tech is gone. But if a new party comes in from the same region, they still have that connection. So people from the same region with the same heritage, with the same path, in a new party coming in would be able to communicate with those existing spirits. Good luck playing two characters. Have fun.
Right.
Yeah. It would be fun though. I would totally play.
But,
I would.
Right. If another party enters the city, the spirits of the original party can help them solve the crisis.
I mean, if they can, because they died because they couldn't figure shit out. So
Right. um, if the party manages to bring all three plants out of, manages to connect to the mother tree and bring all three plants out into the larger world, they will help eradicate the slime molds. Though certain parts of the wilds will still be quite dangerous to those carrying technology. I feel like that's fabulous. And now, rewards. What do people get? Like, if they get the perfect ending, what do their characters receive?
So, I mean, I feel like part of the thing that all of us want is, accolades, recognition, and there's certainly that, in game, for Coyote and Crow, there's certainly, some path leveling up and things like that you could do, if you were to choose to use these characters, for other story arcs or what have you. You could, kind of an epilogue credits kind of thing, have, you're recognized by your community's council, and maybe you're given a place on the council, maybe you're introduced to the Sutaya, and you are now, like, if you're warrior path and you're in line and training, like, maybe this jumps you ahead or gives you a higher rank. There could be other advancements. You're now you have to go home and write about it or share your things, or or congratulations, you get the job of helping everybody else do this thing. Because that's very much kind of a natural progression of what that would be. Like, cool, you figured out this thing, now you get to teach it to everyone else. And so, figuring out how to do that, like, how do you tell your entire larger community that somebody from each region has to die in order to keep their cities from being gobbled up? Like, is that a reward? Is that, the kind of, at the end of the Apocalypse movie, there's kind of the person who survived, and now all the things. Do other people really want to know what all went down to do these things? So there's that.
Fabulous.
They could also, the mother tree and the idea of the doll and the weaving and things like that. There could be like a physical woven item that is specific to this area. Maybe even something that they noticed in some of the homes and buildings that were no longer being used. They were kind of shut down, but there's always going to be like random scraps of things. Like, maybe there's a belt that has some sort of, way to communicate through other tree systems, or there's got to be something cool.
Absolutely. I think, let me see, what would be...
you could discover that weaving the tree, the bush, and the flower fibers together creates a way to communicate with other tree systems because you have the doll. Like, if you complete the whole thing and you found the doll, now you've discovered how to, because what other problems are there that could potentially be solved if you had this non-tech tech?
Okay.
The abacus of
I feel like if you get all three of the trees and you get the doll, this will be like the perfect ending. And what it will do is that the doll will actually resonate depending on where you are, what tree systems you're near. You can hear the difference in the song from each different tree system, and that will allow you to sort of, not, because I don't want it to be like the doll talks with the voice of the trees, like it's.
This is not the Lorax, Kyle.
Right.
God, you're gonna
Are
get
you
a.
sure? Did we not just create the Lorax from a Fabulous Little Doll? No? How dare you?
It's the Chickasaw Mart brand Lorax.
The worst person I've ever met.
Anyway.
I mean, I feel like, though, allowing the doll to be, so we'll put it in rewards, if the party brings all 3 plants and the doll back to back to their communities, then the doll can be used to track differences in the weaving song. Those differences can be used to begin communicating with different groves and even different types of trees in order to create a closer connection to the world around them. All right, I love that. Okay, I think this is going to be super fabulous. Like, it doesn't go anywhere that you think it's going to go when it starts out. It gets crazy, but it all makes sense in the end. That is a delightful adventure. So, yay! Now, we need to talk about art. So first, what would you like on the cover?
I think that kind of the idea of the spiral, of kind of the idea of the bioluminescence and kind of the smoky glowy kind of effect, I think is definitely something that kind of brings in that sort of creepy, sort of hopeful vibe. Because you can certainly do both kind of at the same time.
Could we do then, to sort of tie all of those elements together, could we do a bioluminescent bush where you can see music in the spiraling bioluminescence?
Kind of like music smoke type of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. That sounds cool.
Do you feel that? Is that a thing that you feel?
Right now I'm feeling hungry because my partner brought this food and put it right there.
That's mean.
That's terrible.
Freaking mean.
I'm just gonna slide down here so you can't see my mouth and eat the food.
Yes, you are. A bioluminescent bush whose light is filled with spiraling music. So a bioluminescent bush whose light is filled with spiraling music, I feel like um, is absolutely a description that will inspire an artist to do something amazing.
Yeah.
Yes. All right, now.
I mean, but then you put that next to so also there's this creepy doll. And I mean, I keep saying creepy because like I'm like, okay, people are dying, like
They're all creepy.
we're talking to spirits, and like, there is an element of fear to that. But it's not necessarily a bad thing to, be dealing with dead folks and communicating with spirits. But I think the fact that this doll has been in this place for a long time, was left behind, so you have that kind of residual energy of other folks, um, and the fact that there's no visible connection, because humans rely on eyeballs way too
Yeah.
much.
Do you
There's
want to
no.
have the doll on the cover next to the bush?
I think that might be giving away too much.
Okay.
I think maybe more like a toward the end kind of art, or
I'm gonna call it creepy doll.
I
Creepy
mean,
doll.
this is gonna be a little creepy.
Yeah. And then
but-
one more piece. What's the most important aspect of this that should be represented inside? Do you want to do the actual like the slime destroying a house? Do you want to do like the mother tree and the storage and the corn crib? Like,
Yeah, I think that, if we kind of have the right perspective, we could absolutely do, the view of, maybe not including all of these things, but you have the ship that's being eaten, you have tech that's now been dispersed through this village, and that is attracting this slime. So there's an opportunity to kind of echo some of the structural descriptions. Like, you could absolutely show the details of the summer house with the floor that's built up with storage underneath, and the slime maybe eating through that stuff, so that you can see things like the creepy doll underneath there. Obviously that's going to be a lot of detail, but if you have all those,
yeah, these aren't going to be quite that detailed. So the cover can be really detailed, but the internal ones need to be a little simpler.
So even if it's, but I'm thinking like a close up of, so here's like from the ground, like the camera's fallen over, we're Blair Witching it, right? And you're looking from ground level at the corner of the house, and the slime is eating up to, you have the, like, literally the tech has fallen over, and like from the perspective of the tech, the house is being eaten to get to the tech. Does that make sense? Maybe that's too
it
weird.
Does. I'm concerned that that's going to be a very difficult story to tell in one picture.
Okay.
Is the thing. What about just a picture of the slime eating the ship? Because that would be terrifying, and it would also give it an idea of perspective of how large the actual slime is.
Yeah.
Will that work?
Sounds good.
All right, slime eating the ship. All right, fabulous. We've done it. Over the course of a couple of hours, we have discussed something glorious, and we have turned it into an actual adventure that people will actually be able to play. This is the essence of creation. Huzzah! I love it. So first off, I would like to say thank you so much for being here, Wulf. This is amazing. I cannot even tell you how excited I am to write an adventure where you get to kill somebody in Act 1. Like, that's just So fabulous. Oh my God.
And
Yeah,
it's a musical.
it is. We wrote a horror musical.
Oh God.
That is fabulous. Okay, so first off, why don't you let everybody know where they can find you all over the interwebs?
Yeah. So, if I have an account on wherever the places you're looking for me, I'm in Digi Hope Punk. I'm somewhere in the chat. I have, said yay a couple of times. So you can find me there. Sometimes you can find me doing Coyote and Crow things. If you're gonna be at Origins or Gen Con, come say hi. We can be weird and, talk about killing people in musicals together or something.
Yay!
So all kinds of fun things. If you're into poetry, like Google me. That is also a thing. Come hang out, talk, chat, do things. Also in the Discord for Coyote and Crow, like I'm always in there because that's kind of my office. So
I love it. I am so excited about this. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. And I want to thank chat, everybody in chat for being here, and everybody hit exclamation point raffle because we are about to give away some fabulous dice. You're in the raffle, right, Wolf?
I did. I pushed the button. I did it.
Okay, you did it. I love it. Everybody get in there. I'm going to give you like a couple of seconds to jump in there. Then we're going to do some raffle, and then we are going to go jump in with somebody in our stream team. We're going to raid into them, which will be glorious. Stick around for the raid because you get a whole bunch of channel points, and you can use them to do all kinds of cool stuff with our actual plays, like help me not kill my players, because I do attempt to do that every single time. So, but
That's
yes,
why you wanted to write a story where we
Yeah.
kill someone in Act 1.
yeah,
You
I'm
already
just
knew you were gonna
straight up
die.
murderer. 100%. 100%. I love it. All right, let's do it. Hey, who's gonna get some dice? Who's gonna get some dice? Who's it gonna be? I wonder who it's gonna be. I don't know who it's gonna be yet. It's gonna be. Who is it? Turbo KKV! Yay!
Yay!
Congratulations. Okay, Turbo, send me either a whisper here on Twitch, or send me a little message on Twitter or in Discord, and I will hook you up with some fabulous dice. When you collect those dice, you will get to choose any dice on the whole website. Whatever you want, you can have those dice. All right? We love this. Thank you again, Wolf, for being amazing. Thank you, chat, for being fabulous. And can we get L's in the chat for Lando, who's been running this stream the whole time, which allows us to actually do the stuff that we're supposed to be doing on stream. I love that. And we're going to go a-raiding. Remember, when Playnerd Allies raids, we let them know what we are bringing to the potluck. I am going to be bringing a really angry slime mold to the potluck. What are you bringing, Wolf?
Honestly, probably bread.
Just bread. Just some bread. It's important.
I mean, if any of my game group is watching, that's literally we have a 1.5-year long Blue Rose campaign that my character's entire goal is literally to find the perfect bread recipe. Yeah. And so, it's totally fine.
Absolutely. So, bread and an angry slime mold. I love it. We will see you all soon.